What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves, physically, emotionally, and spiritually?
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them, visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies, help others to speak to their higher selves? You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS. Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
My name is Solara An-Ra, and the name itself is significant in terms of my channeling path because I was not born with that name. And the name Solara was given to me at a certain point where it was essential that I step up in my vibration and also step towards my true chosen path, which was a path that was not decided before this incarnation. It was a particular contract that was deemed a possibility for me at a certain point when I made the decision on my own to reconnect with my own Pleiadian higher self and the Pleiadian star group in general. And so I was channeling one morning and my guides started singing, which was not unusual at the time. And they started singing Solara. And I thought it sounded like so Ray laugh or whatever the octaves are. in music, but they repeated this Solara song 3 times, and then they went into a sentence which was, "Is your new name and vibration blah blah blah," and it came out so fast I had no time to question it because I didn't want to change my name. My name at that time was Gilly College, and the taking on of my second name, An-Ra, is a separate story which we can talk about later if you like. But in terms of how I came to be a channel, it is not something that arrived spontaneously in my life as with other channels. I was not psychically gifted as a young girl. I wasn't receiving messages. I never had an experience where beings came to me, for instance. And it was rather a sideways path where I came to be almost spiritually addicted to going for readings with various clairvoyants, psychics, mediums, channels and trance channels. Not so often, maybe once or twice a year, but it was the time of my spiritual awakening, and it was the only source that I had found up until then where I truly and completely received true guidance about my higher purpose, about who I was, true love, unconditional love and encouragement and advice and perspective on the past, present and future, which up until then I had received from no other human being, teacher, book, or any other method. And so it was through this familiarization with channeling and the amazing quantum leap and shift of opening of consciousness that is available from higher information and not from the ego personality of other human beings that are embedded in this 3D reality. Through this that the desire was born in me to channel. And at the time it had nothing whatsoever to do with channeling for other people, in a group, to the world, or anything else like that, or to be known as a channel. There was no ego whatsoever involved. It was about having my own source of wisdom and guidance rather than seeking through other people the wisdom and guidance of these invisible beings who were apparently so much more wise, intelligent, funny and helpful and encouraging than any people that I knew.
So very briefly then, what is channeling to you?
Channeling is a direct method of receiving information from the invisible world and from beings that are not visible in the third dimension. One can discriminate between receiving guidance and acting upon that and channeling, and it's a small technical differentiation because one obviously can receive guidance, as in you get a thought or a feeling, or you absolutely know that you're just thinking, should I do this or that? And the answer comes that. And so you do that. And in this way you have received guidance and then you've acted upon it. And this may also be perceived as intuition and listening to your gut. But that requires further discussion because listening to your gut and intuition sometimes is actually the speaking from your higher self, and sometimes it's simply a knowing within you and it's not actually channeling or guides that are giving you that. But with channeling, the difference is that you've made the decision to receive information and put it out, and you are putting it out either in written or spoken form. So the word channel means conduit. It is something like a canal through which water would pass. If you are healing in a certain way, as in is commonly known as Reiki, or that kind of faith healing, you are channeling energy through your being and then through your hands into the person, so you are the conduit. And with what is commonly known as channeling, it is information that is coming through, sometimes in the form of pictures that are then translated, and mediums often work that way, sometimes in the form of messages that are given in the normal voice of the person, because they receive the information in the form of idea packages or an entire thought form which is received in one go. And when I describe how I receive things, I'm a direct voice channel, which is very similar to a trance channel in that I allow the energy of the guide or guides to actually be embodied in me. So they do, for instance, things with my hands or my body, and my voice changes and expresses itself differently with different guides, which actually is very useful, because with the different voices and the differentiation, you often perceive the energy of the guides in a different way. So it is quite useful, but it's not at all essential. And when I describe how the information comes, it actually depends on the guides, because if it is an individual or group of guides that I'm not very familiar with, and it's not so coming through so fluently, sometimes I literally get the words one by one. And other times the words come out so fast that my mind, which is still there, my consciousness, which is still there, takes a while to catch up and understand what was actually said. But it's very useful being a direct voice channel rather than a trance channel, because if you can imagine separating your brain so that your conscious mind is there and you just put it to the side, and the guidance that's coming in is there, and your mind can almost comment on what's being said at the same time, but I can interrupt myself in order to ask for clarification. Or if I'm teaching a group, I can stop the transmission midway in order to explain in a simpler way to the students what the guides are actually saying, to summarize in a way, and then continue with the transmission. Because as we all know, when a profound transmission is coming through, sometimes the energy makes you completely space out. It's almost like you've gone off and you come back and go like, that seemed really interesting, but I didn't really get half of it. And therefore it's always very useful to record it and to be able to transcribe it later on to get the nitty-gritty, the details. But as a teacher, which is now my chosen vocation, it's very useful to be able to explain more about the guidance that's actually come through. And also, I've been channeling since '98, and it has gone through different stages. And I am told by my guides now that I won't channel in the direct voice form for much longer. That a time comes where I'm just teaching and the channeling is coming through as part of that, and it's not necessary to differentiate between the two. And now it is possible for me to just choose not to direct voice channel and just to bring through the message. And so in this interview, for instance, I can do both, and you can tell the difference between the two. I will give you my perspective on channeling and what's actually happened, particularly in the Western world, as far as channeling goes. Because there is now a lot of skepticism and cynicism, because there are fake channels out there. There are people pretending to channel. There are some people who are genuine channels, but who bring through a percentage of the truth and a percentage of the stuff that's already in their minds. And And there are very profound channels who are who are channeling either ascended masters or star beings in a very clear, pure stream that is unpolluted, but there are not so many of those. And so for me, it was very, very important that the way I came into channeling, which was through my absolute direct intention. It was a decision on my part, I want to channel. And having then, the minute I made that decision, the book arrived in my life called Opening to Channel by Sanaya Roman, which I then devoured very greedily. I'd already loved her book, Spiritual Growth, Being Your Higher Self, and it had helped me a lot. It had been a real part of my awakening. And she channels a guide called Oren. And Oren said at the beginning of that Spiritual Growth book, these are not just words in a book. Every word is encoded with a vibration, and I am transmitting an actual vibration which is greater than the words on the page. And I immediately felt that in an undeniable way. I felt that Oren was speaking to me. And so I had a lot of experience with channeling in the written and spoken form by the time I came to make this decision. And I therefore also had a particular concept, which at the time was I wanted to speak channel. I didn't think at all about writing channeling. In fact, I had this idea that writing channeling was an inferior form of channeling. I have totally changed my mind since then. Although I will still say that with writing channeling, unless it is pure automatic writing, where the pen is writing itself, or your fingers are just on the typewriter and you have no control over them, there is more opportunity for interference through the self-critical editing ego mind about what's coming out than there is when you're speaking. Having said that, doesn't mean that it's a lesser form. But my path, having decided that and having to then go through several different steps, which I've written about in my book, Pleiadian Emissary to Gaia, that led to my final channeling, because my intention was so clear to get higher guidance, because my trust in the process of receiving higher guidance was so clear, and I had absolutely no fear whatsoever, and fear is what brings danger into the channeling process. And because I had no intention to use it to make money or to channel for other people or to become famous or anything else, and all I wanted was to be led forward on my spiritual path and in my personal life, I therefore had no interference, and I built up my trust in the channeling process very, very quickly, because almost immediately, using my little old-fashioned tape recorder and then transcribing word for word every week or two the stuff that had come through, it was immediately obvious to me that what I was receiving was exactly the same as what I had been receiving through these readings from other people. And I then established a baseline for channeling which I 100% trusted, and there was no doubt in my mind. And my spiritual path from then on was always one in which I went back periodically to ask whatever guides were there, the highest guides I could access at the time, what to do, and general advice. And so when it got to the point where I connected with collectives that actually wanted to speak to the world, there was absolute trust there, and I was 100% dedicated to being of service in any way that I could. This was the most exciting thing to me. And when that is your desire and it is unpolluted, you are more likely to be channeling the truth or accessing guides and dimensions that are truly higher dimensional or with a grander perspective that is useful for human beings. And so I am not saying, therefore, I'm an amazing channel and a lot of people are out there are not, but channeling became contaminated at the point where various channels became famous. Because there is such a desire within human beings to be known, to be recognized, and it's a normal kind of trait of human beings to desire this recognition for their work and so forth. But that desire contaminates the whole purpose of channeling. The star beings, the ascended masters, the ascended frequencies that desire to come through and be of assistance have an absolute clarity in what they teach and put forward, and it is only to assist human beings. If it is coming forth to the human tribe, then it is only to assist them. And human beings who are faulty, who are not yet in a fully awakened state, will bring through a percentage of their own agenda. For instance, human beings that are very obsessed with conspiracy theories will tend to channel stuff around that, a lot of which could be the truth, but a real discrimination is needed on the part of the human tribe that are listening to the channelings, written and spoken. And this is not such a complicated thing, and in no way whatsoever am I attempting to stimulate fear about channels and the channelings that are around and out there. What I will say to everyone who might watch this is that if you trust absolutely that your higher self and your higher heart is able to discriminate the light from that which is less than light and the truth from that which is less than truth, then when you go to read or listen to a channeling, what will happen is either you will absorb what is good for you and the rest will automatically not even be noticed rather than be rejected, or as you begin to read a channeling that's out there on the internet, you will lose interest immediately. So if you are not fear-driven, if this is not where you are in your consciousness, and your only desire is to seek the truth and to move forward on your path and to be of service, you will automatically be able to discriminate very easily between that which is true and that which is not. And so if that is helpful in any way to those listening, I give it with pleasure.
Who is coming through right now?
We are a group of the Pleiadian Syrian cooperative within the Star Councils of Light, which at some time has been a subsector, if you like, of the Galactic Federation of Light. But we prefer to be identified with the Star Councils of Light. And different groups within this collective come together to transmit according to the question, the situation, the audience, and so forth. We have come to answer this question, which is also personal in nature, because you are connected in with the Pleiadian Syrian collective, which came together in 1992 in the temples of Egypt. this contract between the Pleiadian and Syrian star beings to join together their extremely complementary gifts and forms of wisdom in order to be of more assistance to you Earth people.
So am I speaking to an aspect of Solara An-Ra right now as well?
No. The Pleiadian higher self aspect, which is embedded within her, as well as a Pleiadian Satya aspect who exists simultaneously on the star of Maya, which is part of what you term the Seven Sisters. These aspects are not operational within the message we have given.
When we're communicating through you through Solara right now, through this method of channeling, am I speaking to the consciousness of the Pleiadian group, or a consciousness aspect of something? I mean, there's not someone that's elsewhere, you know, being channeled right now. This is out of time and space where I'm speaking to.
The way we present ourselves to our channel is as actual beings, actual star people, similar to human beings, but shown more in their light aspect, as of course we have this ability to transcend physicality, and in our normal state we are light beings, but we are able to show ourselves as beings in a humanoid form. And so she perceives us as actual beings, sitting as it were around a table, cooperating with you. We have been called towards you in this moment through your question and through your intention. And we are not the only guides who work with Solara An-Ra or with you in this project. We are simply the ones who answer the question most accurately at that time. And yes, you are correct that we are able to answer the questions of others simultaneously, for our consciousness is not restricted to one stream of thought or energy.
So are we connected? So why has Solara An-Ra never been channeled? Why isn't beings coming to her to channel her and ask her questions in the moment now? I mean, what I'm saying, I suppose, is that if we were to be channeled, we would have to be ready or to make time for that channeling to take place. So if we were to be channeled, or Solara, then is that happening out of this existence, of this known space and time right now?
No, dear one. Your original question, which is this an aspect of the channel herself who is speaking? It is possible for Solara An-Ra to channel one or more of her higher self aspects, but this is more usual to do when asking advice for herself. For a higher self aspect is there to guide you personally. It is you, but it is the wisest form of you, and each person is able to connect with this aspect, which is simultaneously you and higher than you in vibration, and with far more information available in terms of past, present, future realities that are possible in your manifestation of reality, in your earth life, in other words. And so when asking a question that will help you on a personal level you are very likely to and able to channel a higher self aspect of yourself. Your question is not about Solara An-Ra. It is about yourself, and it is not deemed suitable for this channel to channel your higher self. This is for you to do. Rather, the highest guides possible, able to answer each question in the most intelligent form, will arrive in order to answer that question.
The current understanding of spirituality as it is right now, where all information is said the same, in the sense, most people I get on my talk show, they speak the same truth. And you think sometimes that truth repeated, it must be true. As in, we, come from some place, we go back to it, we're a soul having a human experience, we have a life review, we can choose to come back here, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Is there a new version of spirituality that's out there, like a spirituality 2.0, that a seismic load of information that's not come through yet?
Yes, we confirm this. This is called the quantum leap. And we will speak about the spiritual truths which are repeated at the moment, and correctly so, for they need a lot of repeating, it would seem, in order to be absorbed. But we add that many of the models that are given about life and death, afterlife, lessons learned, and so forth, they are models which are given in order to simplify concepts which are truly more mysterious than you are able to accept at this time. And so, for instance, the model of reincarnation, where a soul gets to a certain level of evolution and then transits into the spirit worlds in order to once again make the decision, reassess or review the life process, what has been learnt and what has still to be learnt, and then the being chooses to reincarnate once more in order to progress further still. This is simply a model and is not as relevant at this time, for you are in the shift. You are in the time of the shift. And therefore, you are waiting to take this quantum leap into a new model of understanding, where past and future lifetimes may be observed to be simultaneous, where timelines are literally shifting and possible and probable realities are moving like sliding doors with the possibility of different outcomes. For not all has been decided. There is not a fate or destiny which has been decided for your planet and people. That which is desired is that the consciousness of all beings is greatly expanded, so that you are able to perceive not only the third dimensional reality, but those higher realities through the dimensions of sound, light, and sacred geometry, in order to be alive and in body on a physical planet and perceive simultaneously the true nature of creation, which is a shifting, evolving matrix where nothing is fixed, where all is possible, and where the true understanding of the nature of the intertwining of energies of all beings and things is once again understood. In other words, it is not necessary to die and leave your physical bodies in order to come to an understanding or remembering of the spirit world. Rather, it is desired that this integration comes while in body, and this is the most significant part of this shift. It is also that which has been called ascension, but ascension is almost a misnomer that has caused a misconception about leaving the physical and ascending into the light, as has occurred with advanced beings that you now call the ascended masters. For these ascended masters, having mastered the true yogic ability to leave the body when the soul chooses, without officially dying, and simply exist in a higher dimension, and then continue to transmit, communicate with, or assist energetically the dimension from which they have come, in this case the third dimension. Your ascended masters, such as Saint Germain, are beings who have been in physical body on your planet and who have ascended from the physical reality into a less or non-physical reality in a higher dimension, but who have maintained contact with the Earth planet and her people through their love and desire to be of service to you. And ascension is therefore not the very best term to use for what human beings are aspiring towards, and indeed will achieve. The Earth planet has already transcended the need to be physical and is existing simultaneously in the fifth dimension. And many human beings on your planet have also already transcended the need to exist only in 3D. But the masses have not, and this is part of the Great Awakening. But you must understand that the reality does not shift from one moment to the next, from this to that, but that you are in the in-between or transition phase, where you simply learn with our guidance and through your own spontaneous evolution of consciousness and expansion of consciousness. You learn to perceive the wonderful shifting lights of the nature of all things, the wonderful moving, shifting light and color of the invisible worlds. You begin even with eyes open to perceive the chakras and aura of another being, for instance. You begin even with eyes open and not in meditation to be able to receive messages telepathically between human beings, between humans and animals, between humans and plants, and so forth. The medicine men and women have always been able to communicate with the plants and animals telepathically in order to download the information regarding consciousness, expansion and healing that is possible through the plants. and to live in a tribal way in cooperation with plants, animals, and the earth being herself, and the sun star being himself also.
This is what we chose to have, did we not? We've chosen to come here to have this human experience. So what's wrong with any of those issues that we've got?
Indeed, there is nothing wrong, dear one, with these issues. Our comments were pointed at your question about if other beings in other realities were channeling us, as in Solara or Kevin. And the answer was that if they were channeling an aspect of us, it would be the higher self aspect and not the personality aspect.
Are we ready for much yet, do you think? I mean, if something huge was to come through now, that would blow us away maybe in the nature of this reality or something, or what's really going on there. Are we actually ready for it?
We give information according to what you are ready for, dear one. In the same way that we bring energies through according to what you are ready to receive energetically without internal combustion. The process, which we call chambers of light, is a form of healing where human beings are placed in pods of energy which are infused with particular star energies that assist you in opening to and integrating higher energies. And so it is not that the most important information is being withheld from you. It is that you are only able to understand what you are able to understand at any particular time. The purpose of meditation and other forms of spiritual practice are to lead you into experiences, lead you into direct experiences of consciousness expansion and entry into other worlds, so that you learn from your experience rather than from only information which is received. This is the most desirable, that there is a balance between information which is received and experience which is perceived, so that you may integrate the left and right brain experiences in a way that is digestible. For information leads to overload. And there are also concepts and realities and truths that human beings en masse are not ready to receive. Is this not so? Is it not the case that at the time of the seedings of the truths through the Jesus Christ light child being, that there were very few in the society who were able to truly receive those teachings and be opened by them? But it was a seeding of new thought forms. Those thought forms assisted greatly in the recalibration of energies on the planet towards integrity, as did the many phases in what you call history assist in the progression of your understanding of Earth life. We have spoken of the love era of the 60s and 70s, of which there is a rebirth in certain places, such as this island of Ibiza. And it is this freedom that was seeded and generated at that time. Sexual freedom, letting go of the rules and the laws that had governed the society at that time. The love and peace generation, who put their foot down, perhaps for the first time, about what they would and wouldn't accept in terms of war and what the government was attempting to force the society into. So these new steps generate waves of consciousness across your planet that shift and change the collective thought forms that exist, the collective consciousness that exists. And we work now and always to reseed thought forms that are useful, that are filled with light, that are expansive, in order to heal and eradicate the thought forms which are not useful at this time of change and progression. Thought forms such as women are lesser than men. Thought forms such as only when one truly works hard will money come. And we do not discourage you from working. We do not encourage you to be lazy. It is simply that those of you who understand the true gift of creativity within you that allows you to manifest that which you desire, understand that the earning of money and the flow of abundance in your lives can be a much more joyful and creative process than simply the concept of putting your nose to the grindstone as such and working hard. And so you ask about a new level of truth and information about the reality of your nature and the reality of your existence on the earth, and how this relates to the higher dimensional beings and worlds. And we say that this is literally being disseminated as we speak. As we speak, we are disseminating new strands of truth and thought, and these new understandings are being channeled and received by many, many beings, not only those who call themselves channelers, but on a worldwide level there is a receiving of new ideas and thought forms that progressively is enlightening your world.
How can channeling bring about peace in this world, in a sense? I mean, when most people look at channeling and think of it, even in the spiritual community, as being on the fringe of spirituality.
Channeling is simply the process of receiving guidance and higher wisdom or healing and bringing it forth into materialization on your planet. And it is absolutely crucial from our perspective in the transition through which you move right now. And as we have said, it is not necessary for you to be a channel in order for this to happen. It is simply the receiving of higher guidance and higher frequency, which is then brought forth into this reality in the form of healing, or in the form of teachings, or in the form of realizations within your own self in your spiritual practice, that is absolutely essential. And it is for this reason, indeed, that you are drawn towards this project, dear one. It is this knowing within you that the process of channeling and the guidance which is available through this process is crucial, that causes you to move forward with this project, to manifest this film which will allow others to receive and grow and learn more. Your path of service, your role of service in this way is extremely valuable and is greatly appreciated by all who work with the earth energies now towards the highest good.
What is the future? Thank you, by the way. What is the future of channeling?
Channeling is already becoming more accepted on an everyday mundane level by those who seek to practice it themselves. Most useful is the concept that one can channel one's higher self easily, for instance in the form of writing, in order to get a higher perspective on what might be troubling you in any moment. And thus it is like listening or hearing your guardian angel communicating with you and assisting you in moving out of any difficulty that you may be experiencing. This is the most important concept that we would like to seed. We would like to eradicate this idea of channeling being a means towards becoming famous or well known or accepted as a spiritual teacher, or as a way to make money, and to supersede this with the idea in all who listen to this dialogue that channeling is an accessible skill to all human beings, and it is a way of accessing higher guidance that assists you in every way in moving forward on your path. And it is not, in fact, difficult to discern whether information that is being brought through is of the light or not. For the information is either expansive or contractive. The information is either that which promotes joy, inspiration, encouragement, further understanding of the truth, as opposed to that which places you in a fear state, in anxiety, in a state of self-judgment or criticism. For if there is a voice which emerges who criticizes you, this is simply a sub-personality, shall we say. It is simply a self-sabotaging stream of consciousness within you, as if you are arguing internally with someone who seeks to sabotage you. It is an aspect of your personality. We will conclude with some information regarding the topic that was broached earlier, regarding higher dimensional realities and how to work with these other realities, how to perceive these other realities, and whether this is indeed a useful thing for human beings to attempt at this time. So we will say to the last, yes, yes, yes. It is not only useful but absolutely essential that human beings step outside of this tiny box of conscious thought which says we are the only living beings in existence. We are the only planet with living beings in this solar system or galaxy or universe. This physical reality that we see with our physical eyes and senses is the only reality. When we die, we die. And there is no higher purpose to life than simply living a good life or enjoyable life. This extremely confined and confining set of thoughts and beliefs restrict you to the extent that it is not possible in any way to understand who you are, why you are here, and what the shift is about. The shift into that which has been called the New Age, the Aquarian Age, the dawning of the Golden Era, and so forth. First and foremost, understand that there are so many levels of creation, so many other realities which have been invisible to most of you up until now. Such complexity and marvelous, mysterious unfolding that you are yet to experience. The best attitude that we can advise to human beings is one of excited anticipation about the marvels that are only beginning to be understood. Seek not to understand the nature of everything immediately through your left brain processing, for it is not possible. It is only possible to seek to expand your consciousness to both receive the wisdom and experience the realities available through becoming more open-minded, through allowing yourself the luxury of changing your mind about concepts such as channeling or higher dimensions. Simply open your minds and understand that the nature of reality is mysterious and that it is a progressive thing. Your journey of evolution and expansion of consciousness that leads you towards understanding the reality of all that is. Allow the mystery to be. And have the child, the imagination and attitude of the child active within you at all time, that which is curious, that which is excited, that which understands already that not all is known and that it is not desirable for all to be instantaneously known, for life would be extremely boring if you already understood everything. Is that not so? When you enter a new love relationship, for example, would it not be extremely boring to know everything, to understand everything about your new love partner? to know exactly how the relationship will play out and how long it will last for and how and when it will end? Is it not more wonderful and exciting and enjoyable to consider each new relationship as a magical mystery tour where you are simply saying yes to the ride with as much openness, love and possibility as you can muster in order to manifest the highest result possible within the relationship? It is only that control freak within you and the way in which human beings have been programmed to want to control each other and the situations in which you find yourselves, to control the outcome, to know the outcome of all situations. It is only this limited way of operating that stimulates fear when you think about something as being unknown as yet. When you let go of that fear, when you pop that bubble of fear and allow yourselves to open into the true joy of being in the mystery of the ride, following the signs and synchronicity, moving with the flow rather than against it, that there is true joy in living. And so allow your spiritual path and the level of understanding which you reach at each stage of the spiral of spiritual evolution, allow this to be open and reinstate in yourselves the attitude of the adventurous, mischievous, curious, imaginative child, for it is an attitude that serves you well in all ways, and we hope we have been of assistance. Namaste.